up, everyone? Welcome to this day in Philly sports history for June 6, 2025. I'm your host, Jim Montgomery. Welcome to a Feel Good Friday edition of the podcast. We got a big show today, as we always do on Friday. It's a Feel Good Summer Friday, so let's get into it. It's the first full weekend of June. That means schools are starting to let out. Yesterday was the last day of school for the kids at the school I work at. Very, very excited about that. But with that comes your trips to the shore. And every time you go to the shore, it can be stressful. You get stuck in traffic, then you got to lug everything in. You start sweating. Everybody's arguing and fighting. Take the stress out of your shore vacation. Let Beach Caddy move you in, move you out. And then, of course, the other stressful thing about the shore is lugging all of your stuff to the beach. Beach Caddy's got you covered. They got the best beach carts I've ever seen at the Jersey Shore. Hands down, the best beach carts. Let them take the stress out of it. Use the promo code Jimbo. Take 10% off your move-in, move-out service. Take the stress. Have a beer while they're moving you in and out. And then when you go to the cart, just tell everybody, load everything up. I got it. They glide across the sand. You'll be in good shape. If you're in Ocean City, Avalon, Sea Isle, Stone Harbor, or Wildwood, let Beach Caddy take the stress out of your Jersey Shore vacation. Use the promo code Jimbo to take 10% off your move-in, move-out service, as well as your beach card rental. And honestly, like I said, enjoy your vacation. Nobody wants their vacation to get off to a stressful start. You got enough stress going on throughout the year as you go. Enjoy your vacation. Let Beach Caddy do it. 10% off your move-in, move-out service and beach cart rental with the promo code Jimbo in Ocean City, Avalon, Sea Isle, Stone Harbor, and Wildwood. Get it off to a good start. Phillies did not get off to a good start yesterday. Luzardo might be broken. Not sure what is going on with that. I don't know why Rob Thompson even left him out there. Hopefully that doesn't do anything to his confidence. He says he feels good. Everything's going well. He's not sure what is going wrong, which is even worse. Couple that with the fact that Aaron Nola's side is hurting, and all of a sudden something. Luckily, we have a strong enough starting pitching rotation that we can kind of absorb that a little bit. However, the offense needs to do something. 5 hits yesterday, 2 runs in the final 2 games of that Blue Jays series. They lost 9-1 yesterday. The bullpen actually wasn't terrible yesterday. Weston Wilson pitched again. But the bullpen, honestly, was not bad. And they were able to kind of limit the damage, so to speak, as much as you can when you're already down 8-0 or 8-1, whatever it was. But I don't know. Luckily for the Phils, the Pirates are on the schedule this weekend out in Pittsburgh. Tonight's a bullpen game. Joe Ross is getting the start. But they need to get it right, and this is the perfect team to get it right against because the next 3 weeks, throughout the rest of the month of June, you got the Cubs, Blue Jays again, all the teams in the NL East, the Astros and the Padres coming up. So if they cannot get it right, we're going to learn a lot about this team over the next 3.5 weeks. But Phillies lose to the Blue Jays 9-1 yesterday. Pirates out in Pittsburgh this weekend. Hopefully it's enough to get it right. I don't know if they're going to catch Skeens or not. I didn't look that far ahead. But Joe Ross in the bullpen game tonight. So hopefully the bats can wake up. And whether or not, like I said, that means bringing up some of the guys from the Lehigh Valley or shuffling the lineup, I don't know. But something needs to be done. We're at the point of the year back in 2022. We talked about it, I think it was earlier this week, when Joe Girardi was fired. It was one of the things on my bold predictions is Rob Thompson's seat getting a little hot. I know some of the circumstances are out of his control, but I don't know, maybe that's the spark this team might need if they're not going to bring up the guys from Lehigh Valley. But worth monitoring as they go into this series against the Pirates, and then it gets tough for the rest of the month of June. And really could go a long way in determining where the Phillies are at the trade deadline, where they stand in the NL East. But things are not good in Phillies land right now. Be sure to follow me on social media, Jimbo_Mont on Twitter and TikTok. On Instagram, at PhillyJimbo. Subscribe to the YouTube channel, Jimbo_Mont. Continue to spread the word. If you're a new listener, welcome. If you do want to see highlights of whatever we're talking about, whether it be video clips, as best as I can, newspaper clippings, photos, different things like that, all my social media has that, including my Facebook and LinkedIn. So go check us out there. And of course, today is Friday. We always spend Fridays with AI. That is coming up later in the show. Never know when he's going to show up. So Fridays with AI later in this episode. All right, I've been telling you about Lotwin and the custom 3D hype chains. Things are amazing. Great for youth sports. Great for fantasy football leagues, bachelor parties, gag gifts at work, all kinds of fun stuff. The possibilities are endless. They make good decoration. If you want to, I'm in the process of trying to design one to go as part of my backdrop here. But these things are great, meticulously done, handcrafted, 3D custom hype chains from Lotwin. Go to lotwin.com. Use the promo code TCCPOD to take 10% off of your order and get hype. Lotwin.com, promo code TCCPOD. All right, yesterday's trivia question. We were talking about Reggie White, and the Eagles drafted him in the supplemental draft with the number 4 overall pick back in 1984. And I asked you, of 198 sacks Reggie White had in his career, which quarterback did he sack the most? That would be Phil Simms with 15 and a half. Now, this data was very, very difficult to find. I had to dive deep into the archives on ESPN for this one. But Phil Simms, most sacked quarterback by Reggie White with 15 and a half. Neil Lomax was second with 13. Could not find the third, but I would have to imagine, based on his time in the NFC East with the Eagles and then going to Green Bay, I would imagine it has to be Troy Aikman, has to be number 3 on that list. But Phil Simms, most sacked quarterback by Reggie White. And I gave you a couple bonus questions yesterday. Reggie White actually wore 91 his rookie year, and that was because Smiley Cresswell was on the team, and he was number 92 in 1985. And a little bit of trivia here with that. Reggie and Smiley Cresswell are the only 2 players in Eagles history to wear the number 92, and no one else will wear it again, as it does hang up in the upper tier at the link. Be sure to check out my boys over at the Clash and Conferences podcast. Great things happening with their sports fan network. Go to clashandconferences.com to see how you can get involved. Excuse me. What they have to offer. Always looking for new members. If you need media services, they can help you out there as well. Go to clashandconferences.com. See what they have to offer. Check out their podcast. New episodes drop on Thursday and Friday, so new ones out this morning. But go check them out. Great group. Very happy and love being a part of the Clash and Conferences Sports Fan Network. So go check them out at clashandconferences.com to see how you can get involved and what all they have to offer. And then Philly Goat has done it again. I saw the first drop last week, but I'm going to take a little trip down nostalgia lane from the late 80s, early 90s. And if you're around my age group, you know these well. Garbage Pail Kids. People were collecting baseball cards and Garbage Pail Kids. They were the cards that were, I believe they were stickers too. Or maybe there was like a different stickers thing. Either way, Philly Goat has you covered with the Philly-based Garbage Pail Kids. The first 2 shirts have dropped. Bryson Snot, as in Bryson Snot hitting very well at the leadoff spot right now. And just released this week, Lice Harper, kind of hits close to home just because there was a couple lice outbreaks at the kids' school this year. But if you know anything about the Garbage Pail Kids, you know exactly what I'm talking about. These things are great. But get your Bryson Snot or Lice Harper shirts from Philly Goat. Use the promo code Jim Montgomery to take 10% off your order. Don't forget about Dad. Dad, if he's my age, probably does remember Garbage Pail Kids and would wear this shirt. But they have all kinds of Philly-based gear. So go check out phillygoat.com. Get the new Garbage Pail Kids. inspired shirts. Bryson Snott and Lice Harper. Use that promo code Jim Montgomery to take 10% off of your order. That's phillygoat.com. Promo code Jim Montgomery to take 10% off of your order. All right, June 6th. Slowly creeping into the time of the year where it's all Phillies. But we're going to have some fun with the Phillies and the Sixers today. And first, we're going to go back to 1972. And truthfully, this is something maybe the Phillies could try on the next homestand. But on this day in 1972, the Phillies had Turn It Around Day at the Vet. The Phillies at the time were in the midst of a stretch where they lost 18 of 19 games. So they were basically just looking to turn things around. This was the brainchild of Bill Giles. It was like, hey, what can we do to help turn things around? And they took on the Astros this day. The lineups were announced in reverse order. So they announced it from 9 to 1. First name or last name first. First name last. The seventh inning stretch took place in the third inning. On the scoreboard, if you remember the Vet, and they still do it at Citizens Bank Park now, they would say, welcome to these groups that are in attendance. And then, of course, everybody loves the birthday. Somebody always has the question mark. But what they did was, instead of announcing the groups in attendance and the birthdays, they announced the groups not in attendance and the non-birthdays. Just anything to try to spark the team. Ushers wore their hats backwards. They wore their name tags on their back instead of their front. Bill Giles, to his credit, was always looking for a way to get the fans interested. So on this day, 1972, Turn It Around Day at the Vet. Now, did it help the team? Absolutely not. They lost 4-3 to the Astros. They were held scoreless for the first 8 innings, scored 3 runs in the ninth in front of about 8,000, little over 8,000 fans. But that day it didn't work out. The Phillies did go on to win 4 of their next 5. However, 72 was just a brutal season for them. That's the year they went 59-97. Steve Carlton won the Cy Young, winning 27 of the Phillies' 59 games. But they could not get it done on Turn It Around Day. Maybe it's time for John Brazier and the Phillies Fun Bunch to maybe, if this struggle continues, to do another Turn It Around Day at Citizens Bank Park. And then we're going to fast forward to 1990. Phillies lose to the Cardinals in 10 innings in a wild one. Phillies battled back after being down, I think, like 5 runs. Took a 9-7 lead in the bottom of the ninth. But going into the top of the... No, it was the bottom of the ninth. They were on the road. Roger McNow blew the save, though. The Phillies would score 2 more in the top of the 10th to take the lead. And then McDowell and Terry Mulholland were not able to hold the Cardinals down as they gave up 3 runs. But noteworthy in this game, Von Hayes tied a team and a National League record with 5 walks in the game. He's currently still tied for the team lead in most walks in a game with Ryan Howard, Dick Allen, Richie Ashburn, and Andy Semenick. For those keeping score at home, that, like I know a lot of you like to do, the Major League record is 6. Tied with, or 4 players are tied for having 6 walks in a Major League game, including a Phillies connection. Bryce Harper, while playing with the Nationals, did walk 6 times in a game. But on this day in 1990, Phillies blow a lead in the bottom of the ninth, losing to the Cardinals 11-10 in an absolute, or 12-11 in an absolute wild one out at Busch Stadium. But Von Hayes tied the team record and the National League record with 5 walks in the game, including an intentional walk. And then we're going to go to 2001. And I could go on probably for a half hour minimum about this game. But game 1 of the 2001 NBA Finals. And first of all, it was a 9:30 start because I guess it was out on the West Coast. And that was just brutal enough. But, hey, we were young, just graduated college, it didn't matter. But Allen Iverson dropped 48 points and willed the team to an overtime victory. AI had 30 points in the first half, but then they put Tyronn Lue on him and kind of frustrated him in the second half. But then AI caught fire at the end of the fourth quarter, and especially in overtime. Of course, he had the famous step over on Tyronn Lue, which... one of the most iconic moments in Philly sports history. Lost in this game, though, was Dikembe Mutombo had 16 rebounds, 5 fouls. Matt Geiger had fouled out of that game, and they needed every one of those 11 fouls to stop Shaquille O'Neal that day, who still managed to score 44 points. The defense did hold Kobe Bryant to 15 points on 31% shooting. Unfortunately for the Sixers, Kobe would bounce back in this series. But back to this game. It was the highlight of this season. Everybody expected the Lakers to sweep the Sixers. The Lakers had not lost a game in the playoffs at that point. And just remember watching this game at a buddy's house who, you've heard me mention this a couple times on the podcast, still owe him money for punching a hole in his drywall. Not out of frustration, but out of sheer joy and getting too close to the wall and fist bumping when they pulled off that game. Went right through his drywall. I believe it was in Fishtown. And then just going from there up to Broad Street and just driving my car up and down Broad Street, hanging out, high-fiving everybody. Essentially, that was the NBA championship for the Sixers because while the next two games were close, Sixers really were just overmatched in this series. So the fact that we were able to steal game one and come back home tied at one game apiece, we were just out of control on Broad Street that day. But on this day, in 2001, Sixers knock off the Lakers in overtime to win game one of the NBA Finals. The famous AI step over on Tyronn Lue is the iconic moment from this game. All right, we do have a trivia question about this team, and the big story was that sitting at 41-14, Sixers traded Theo Ratliff, who was injured at the time, for Dikembe Mutombo. There were 4 other players, though, involved in that trade. Who were they? Hit me up on the Discord channel, the Back to the Future voice and text line, 267-495-8531. Get that. Anything else, Philly sports related off your chest, want to vent about the Phils, that is fair game. But we know Mutombo and Theo Ratliff. But who were the other 4 players involved in that trade that really put the Sixers over the top? Dikembe played very well against Shaq as best he could, I guess, in that series and really helped the Sixers during that playoff run. But who were the 4 other players involved in that trade?
It's time for Fridays with AI, where we ask AI to rewrite Philly sports history. Every Friday only on This Day in Philly Sports History.
That's right. It is time for Fridays with AI. And of course, AI is going to show up when we're talking about the other AI, Allen Iverson. But Allen Iverson, during his time with the Sixers, never really had a Robin to his Batman. And I don't know, there's differing reports about whether this was because Allen Iverson couldn't play with someone or whether it was Larry Brown and the way he constructed the team, him and Billy King. Because if you think about the guys that they did try early in Iverson's career, they weren't necessarily star players. Looking at guys like Jerry Stackhouse, Larry Hughes, Tim Thomas, they were solid, but they weren't necessarily like superstar players like we saw during that time, like Kobe and Shaq, Michael and Scotty. They weren't that level of players. So not sure whether it was an Iverson thing, a Larry Brown thing, or a combination of the two. We just talked about the high point of the Iverson era was that game one win against the Lakers in the finals. But I asked AI this week, what if AI was paired with another star? There were always rumors. They brought in Chris Webber late in his career. Glenn Robinson came in late in his career. They brought Derek Coleman back, but at that point, Derek Coleman was late in his career. But there were always rumors about trade. One that almost came to fruition was in 1999, though, and that was Tracy McGrady and a first-round pick coming to the Sixers for Larry Hughes. And at the last moment, Toronto backed out of that deal. But I asked AI, what if Allen Iverson had another star? And AI explored the possibility of the Tracy McGrady trade actually going through. They said it was the most feasible one that of all the rumors you heard back then, it was the most feasible one. So asked AI a couple questions about this. I said, could Allen Iverson and Tracy McGrady have coexisted in this scenario? And Defensively, absolutely. They would have complemented each other because McGrady was more of the guy who had a quick step, could have recovered. He was taller, protected the rim more, and AI was more, or Iverson, don't want to confuse AI and Iverson here, but Iverson was more the risk taker, led to a lot of steals and things like that. And AI seems to think that Allen Iverson could have been a lot more aggressive, and it would have led to a lot more fast-paced, fast-break points because of those steals. Offensively, it could have been tough because both of them are alphas, but in order for this to work, one of them would have had to sacrifice points. Likely that would have been McGrady because he was a more versatile player and also wasn't as ego-driven as what AI was. And that's not a knock against AI. In order to be a superstar, you got to have that ego. But it was more likely that Tracy McGrady could have stepped back and been the second fiddle to AI. And truthfully, though, we never know what would have happened if AI did have a star. He did have some success out in Denver with Carmelo Anthony. So he was never really put in that position with the Sixers. So maybe AI would have adapted to it and been able to think. But in this scenario, artificial intelligence AI seems to think that it could have worked out at least for a small window of 3 to 5 years with McGrady and Iverson. So that led to the follow-up question then. What does it mean for each player's career trajectories? Well, for both of them, but specifically McGrady, it would have meant a lower per game average for points, assists, and all those other things. But not having to be the main guy would have helped some of his injury concerns, and he would have lasted longer in the league. His prime years would have been more productive and lasted longer. So his numbers overall would have been higher, even though his points per game would have been slightly lower, and it really changed the narrative of him as a player, as an injury-prone, what-if, unfulfilled expectations kind of guy. Playing with a star like Allen Iverson would have changed that whole perception of Tracy McGrady. Iverson, very similarly, his trajectory would have been, his numbers would have been slightly lower, still would have won some scoring titles, but wouldn't have been scoring almost 30 points, probably would have been in the 26 to 25, 26 range, which is still okay, but it would have taken less of a toll on his body because he would have had the Robin to kind of help pick up some of the slack. Both of them would have been surefire Hall of Famers like they were. McGrady was more, would have been more of a first ballot Hall of Famer in this scenario. So that led me to the third question. I said, okay, what does this mean for the Sixers team success then? They say very similar trajectory that what they went on. They needed that time to kind of play and learn each other and play together. During this series, though, against the Lakers, way more competitive, takes them to 7 games, and the Sixers actually pull off the win and win the NBA championship in 2001. The following year, it's a rematch, goes 7 games again. This time, it's the Lakers getting their revenge. Sixers would make it to 2 more Eastern Conference Finals, not being able to overcome running into those Detroit teams, but they were perennial Eastern Conference contenders, very similar to the Spurs run with Tim Duncan, where you can never count them out for not winning a championship, but they were able to get the one championship in this scenario. There also is no process. Due to the fact that they had more success, players wanted to come and play for the Sixers. It was more, as AI put it, a softer landing. So there was no need for the big blow up and tanking and all of that other stuff. And they would have been able to kind of bounce back quicker, similar to kind of like the way the Heat have been doing more recent times. Could it have worked? I don't know. What do you think? I think AI put out a very compelling case that if the Sixers could have gotten their hands on Tracy McGrady, things would have played out very, very differently in Allen Iverson's career. Certainly changed the Sixers' fortune, changed Tracy McGrady's fortunes. But what do you think? Is this far-fetched? Hit me up on the Discord, the Back to the Future voice and text line, 267-495-8531. I would have loved it. And I really think that this probably falls more on Larry Brown and Billy King for not really exploring getting guys. And Larry Brown has his philosophy where he wanted the defensive muckers and grinders. If you look at what he did when he won the championship with Detroit, they weren't a very flashy team. There wasn't a ton of stars on that team. They just had some very, very good players. Like Rip Hamilton was on that team. Ben Wallace was on that team. Rasheed Wallace was on that team. None of those guys were like 30 point per game scorers. So maybe bringing in a guy like McGrady to kind of go along with Iverson when he was younger would have changed sort of just AI's game and his career. I don't know, but let me know your thoughts on that one. This is just like last week. This is another intriguing run to me because it always killed me that there was never a sidekick for Allen Iverson, and they needed somebody that had more of an alpha mentality, and I think Tracy McGrady would have been the perfect fit. But let me know your thoughts on Tracy McGrady and Allen Iverson playing together. And then finally today, our greatest individual sports season in Philly sports history. Yesterday, we went to the Sixers region, and first upset of the tournament, a slight upset, 9 versus 8. But Wilt Chamberlain, 1967-68, beat Charles Barkley, 1987-88, with 63% of the vote. That was the season where Wilt's like, I want to lead the league in assists, and he did, winning the MVP. So thank you, everybody who voted. Today, we have our first Eagles region matchup, and this one, usually in the NCAA tournament, a 12 seed always upsets a 5 seed. Hopefully you guys can look at this one objectively and not whole picture. We're looking at just individual season, not the player, the individual season. So let's start with the 5 seed in the Eagles region. Carson Wentz's 2017 season, played in 13 games, was on an MVP trajectory. Led the Eagles to an 11-2 record before tearing his ACL, running in that quarterback sneak out in LA. Through 13 games, he had 3,200 yards, 33 touchdowns, 7 interceptions, and a 60% completion percentage. That offense was just fun. He did make the second-team All-Pro, was a Pro Bowler. And I still say this despite what happened after, and we're focusing just on the 2017 season. The Eagles don't win that Super Bowl without the play of Carson Wentz that first 13 games. So he is the 5 seed in the Eagles region. And then moving on to the 12 seed, A.J. Brown's 2022 season. He played all 17 games that year, 88 catches for almost 1,500 yards, 11 touchdowns, averaged 17 yards per reception. He was an All-Pro, Pro Bowler. Eagles went 14-3, made it to the Super Bowl. A.J. played well in the Super Bowl, but really was a difference maker that season for Jalen Hurts and the Eagles, coming over on that surprising draft day trade by Howie Roseman. That is the 12 seed. So whose season was better? Number 5, Carson Wentz in 2017, or number 12, A.J. Brown in 2022? Vote wherever you can. All of my social media, the Back to the Future voice and text line, the Discord channel, which the link to that is in the description. Who do we got here? I'm anxious to see which one this plays out, because I'm very high on the Carson Wentz 2017 season, not very high on the subsequent seasons after that, but we're focusing on 2017 here, people. We spent Fridays with AI and went down an alternate reality where the Sixers did bring in a sidekick for Allen Iverson. In this case, it was Tracy McGrady. Did lead to one championship, making the Sixers a perennial title contender, always in the mix in the Eastern Conference. But what do you think about that? Could this scenario have been feasible? I think so. I think sometimes I'm like, this is a little out of the norm here, AI. But I think this AI, second week in a row, I think AI has got it right. Don't forget our trivia question, that Theo Ratliff and Dikembe Mutombo trade. Who were the other 4 players involved in that trade? On this day in 2001, Sixers knocked off the Lakers in Game 1 of the 2001 NBA Finals in overtime. It was the first loss of the Lakers for that playoff series, and it was their last loss in that whole entire playoff run. In 1990, Von Hayes set an NL and Phillies tied an NL and Phillies team record with 5 walks in a game. 1972, turn it around day. Didn't turn it around, but the Phillies were trying anything to snap out of their 18 losses in 19 game funk they were in. Did have some success the next couple days after that, but Phillies lose to the Astros 4-3. I don't think we're that far away from another turning around day. All right, this has been This Day in Philly Sports History for June 6, 2025. My name is Jim Montgomery. Go have yourselves a feel-good Friday, and until next time, I'll see you when I see you.